to the oaks, I guess. So we've just finished up. We've made a profit, I think, of £242-ish thousand. I'm not sure what the difference is between the two. So I started the day with a £10,000 float. I zeroed that out once we'd made that much money. So in theory, I should have all of that cash, but I wasn't sure. So what I'm going to do is just add in that 242-ish thousand. I've done all of the fertilizing contracts. So brought everything back to Saxthorpe. We're going to add in the money. There we go. And we are up at £408,000 now, which is really rather nice. So I did have to service and refuel the kit while we were over at the Oaks. Thankfully, there was a fuel station and a repair point we could use. So that was good. But they do need now a bit of a service, a bit of a refuel, and a bit of a clean before we carry on with the first job for today, which is to kind of fix the precision farming weed scores. So that's kind of the plan. And then we're going to get into some harvesting because that's where we are. So yeah, pretty cool, making some progress, which is really nice. It would have been nicer to make a bit more cash over at the Oaks. I think when I left there, almost every field was double fertilized, so we weren't going to get many more contracts coming up. There'll probably be some harvesting contracts we can do, but anyway, on to precision farming and weed. So you can see currently our precision farming weed score overall, I think it was 17.5. Yep. And then a bunch of them vary between 17.5 and 15 and maybe a bit more there. That one confused me because there's no nitrogen score because it's soybeans, which is kind of a, yeah, unless the nitrogen, actually probably because the nitrogen was so bad when we harvested the field originally. So yeah, all sorts of different states. What I'm going to do is go around and spray each field with See and Spray, and we'll see how we do. So it's quite interesting that if you have weeded, you have to cover more of the field than if you have not weeded. So if you have not weeded, you can go into the field, turn the See and Spray on, and you get maximum bonus. If you have weeded, you have to drive around a bit. So you can see it's gone up most of the way, but not quite all of the way. And you see it kind of creeps up slowly as I drive along the field. And I don't think it ever completely maxes out. Whereas for the fields where I haven't weeded, it instantly jumps up to maximum. And the difference there is whether the field was ploughed or not, and therefore needed weeding or not. So it's an interesting one. So I consider this a little bit cheaty. Some of you don't. And I guess the reason it's set up the way it is that I think Giant sponsored precision farming, and the piece of kit that came with precision farming for this was not Giant's John Deere, and it was a John Deere sprayer. So they wanted to encourage you to use the new John Deere sprayer, and that was the only way to maximize the weed control score. I remember early on I was kind of annoyed by that, and I wanted to go in and try and edit it, but it's kind of buried, so it wasn't easy to adjust. Oh well, you can see we're up at 91 on this field now, so I think until we harvest, that's probably as good as we can get. Obviously a lot of the values don't update until post-harvest, so things like nitrogen, I think tillage might not update until post-harvest, so hopefully we're looking at much better environmental score for selling this year's harvest, I guess. That would be nice. Yeah, so I had to drive a reasonable amount of the field. I think I turned out of the field just up here somewhere. So we can head off to the next field, basically. So, yeah. Obviously, obviously, because I've got the 24 meter booms on still, I can't run in the 18 meter tram lines, but, you know. For now, that doesn't matter. Yep, we'll head up here and then we will turn out. I don't know if any of you saw on Facebook, I guess it was last week. Custom Modding had some video of the front end of the new quad track, the big, can't remember the model number, 7 something, is it? It looks very cool. It looks very cool. So yeah, well, looking forward to seeing that. And I shared the picture on Discord last week. I think they seem to be working on a Challenger MT800 that's all blacked out. It looks awesome. That is definitely appearing somewhere when it releases. I have a huge soft spot for 2-track tractors, and the fact that it's blacked out, it just looks so cool. Yeah, so right, off to the next field, and I think this is going to be field 9, which wasn't weeded. I think this is the field where we ploughed in the potatoes. Yes, I remember all the comments that you can't just plough in potatoes because they'll just keep growing, but it's a video game and we couldn't kill them off any other way. So I guess I could have left them to wither and then ploughed them in, but is that any different to just ploughing them in the real world? Probably not. Yeah. Unfold. I don't remember why I didn't put tram lines in this field. I might not have actually had proceed active at the time. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, well, I was expecting to have to do more of this field, and I think this is one of the ones where it jumps up instantly. It's interesting that they react differently. So we are maxed. Awesome. On to the next field. Yeah, pretty nice. And I'm going to get all these done, and in fact I have. And you can see that our weed control scores are much better. I don't remember what our overall score was before. Obviously a bunch of these will jump up once we harvest because the missing bars should fill. But we're up to 27.3 now from 17.5. So not perfect, but better. And I think that's the fields that have been weeded. We were struggling to get perfect. Maybe if we'd covered the whole field. So time-saving stock check, really handy little mod. Has indicated, or when I looked at it, showed me that the price for soybeans is peaking pretty much. So we're going to go get those sold. I think those were excess from contracts, but I'm not certain. Sorry, just needed a sip of coffee. So we're going to run those up to the sell point, make a little bit more cash, and then skip ahead to July and some harvesting. It's interesting. We've got the Mengler forage harvester there. We won't go into the history of that surname, but we don't have any corn planted this year. So with the way the crop rotation set up, a crop will always be missed, and this year it was corn. So maybe I'll change that in the future when we get more fields. So last time I spoke about getting more fields, and I think I agree with Smock that we should go for the 2 smaller fields, particularly we're going to have to borrow the money to buy them. I think that would be sensible, but I do think we should get a couple more fields. Probably we'll buy them at the end of July, just before they're ready to harvest, to save on loan interest. Seems sensible to me, and yeah, just keep progressing. Let's get these sold, and we can talk about some more of the plans that I have for the future. So 23,500, the environmental bonus, pretty nice for a bit of an excess on contracts. There are lots of harvesting contracts now. It's July. Going to take them all because we will have in a moment lots of combines. So I'm keeping the original 2 Deutz combines because we intend to own so much land. But you can see almost every field that's ready to harvest, we can get a harvesting contract on. Weirdly, field 31, they only want us to plow in. Even with resetting the contracts, they keep just offering a plowing contract. Clearly, Broadland Agri is not happy with that crop. So we don't have enough tractors at the moment to be doing that and harvesting contracts. So in fact, we still don't have enough tractors really, in my opinion, but I'm going to clear the contracts and recycle them and see if that does offer anything useful. Yeah. So, no, it stayed as a planning contract. They didn't show it, but it stayed as a planning contract. So we need to get the header out of the shed. Now, a bunch of you enjoyed watching me put it in. I did joke that we might do, and suddenly we're at the field. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to time lapse it because it did take me a little while, but yep, I'm going to show it to you. The only concession that I made based on feedback from Brian was I did use super strength to allow me to turn the dolly. I didn't use it so I could pull the tray, the header. So he said that in the real world, they use about 3 or 4 guys to move these around, doing this kind of thing. They can push them around, you know, you can manually steer it. So I didn't go that far, but I did use super strength to turn the steering arm on the dolly when I needed to change its location to get a different angle on things. But, it took me a while, but I did manage it. And I think it's mostly kind of inexperience of trying to maneuver something like this. It's not something I've done in the real world. So, yeah, it's a learning experience. Here I was going to try to be really optimistic and wondering if I could turn it in a shed that's not as wide as the header is long, which is clearly dumb. But what it did do is let me get the front end of the trailer turned out, so that then hopefully I can kick the back end out like that. And then yeah, so yeah, I'm just using super strength to rotate the steering arm so that I can get a different bite at it from a different angle. When we've finished, this is going in a different shed. We have some bigger sheds, and that's where it's going. I may even put it in the main big shed where I can just back it in if I clear some space for it. But we're pretty much free, so there we go. We can just finish pushing this out and hook it up to a real tractor to get it up to the field. And I'm sure I've offended a whole bunch of people by saying real tractor instead of that. So let's buy the combine to attach to it. So quick check of the sales, just in case. On the Oaks, I did have a big Alexian crop up because we already had the Fendt header. We're going to stick with Fendt. So originally I wanted to go Massey, but this is close enough. I'm going to go for the 9T. I don't think we need to go for the 10T. I am going to go for the ideal drive joystick steering because I think it's cool. So we need £521,000. So I think I borrow 150,000. So we end up with a bit left in the bank. And that's going to take us to about 280 grand in debt out of a possible 2.3 million we could borrow. So 3-year loan to pay for the combine. We'll probably end up paying it off quicker, but you know, that's the plan. And yeah, let's get this beast brought. I think it's one of the biggest combine, apart from multiplayer. It's going to be one of the biggest combines I've owned in FS. I'm just trying to think. On Greenlands, we had a big combine. Actually, we had a pretty big class combine. So maybe not, maybe equivalent. So yeah. But it certainly feels one of the biggest, and it's cool. It's a very cool combine. It's very efficient, I found. So yeah, the plan is not for this video, but in the future, if we've got combine fields to harvest, I'll use this combine. And at the same time, we can have the 2 Deutzes working contracts. If there are no fields of ours to harvest, I'm going to have all 3 combines doing harvesting contracts while they're available on here. Once we've exhausted those, and if we don't have jobs, so one of the things is that this field is going for soybeans next, which we can't plant until about March or April. So it's going to sit fallow for a long time. We don't need to do anything with it. So what I'm thinking is that I am going to take this combine, stick it on the low loader, get this over to the Oaks, with a couple of the tractors to cart, and we'll run some of the harvesting contracts over there if we've exhausted everything on here. I'm really enjoying this approach to playing. So, you know, I essentially get to play 2 maps at once. It's really nice for me because I get to play on the Oaks. I've not really played the Oaks before, so I show a little bit of it, but it's kind of a way for me to play Farm Sim in the background without, you know, upsetting too much of how the save works. I am still pondering options for a yard there. Someone, I can't remember who, also pointed out one near the chicken farm that's got a shed and a silo and a bunker silo. I don't think the bunker silo works apparently. I'd probably delete that and maybe put a second shed there. That's one that's on a plot on its own, so we wouldn't have to faff around with working out how to pay for it with being on a field that costs a silly amount of money. So it's a bit of fun connecting combine headers. In fact, on all 3 combines, because I have recorded the next video and I was using the other 2 combines, and it felt a bit sensitive on there as well in terms of alignment. So yeah, it was a bit weird. Yeah, I think there are some things I want to do on here first before we spend money on the Oaks. At the moment, it kind of works, you know. I think we've only done one time where we stayed overnight there, so, and we don't have spare kit to leave there. So yeah, just making sure that everything's reset in terms of yield map and yield. And I think I'm going to cut in a bit, and then we're going to get the header trailer parked up and get AutoDrive set up to cart so that I can run the combine. And actually, it worked pretty well. If you watched Cartech's recent frustrations video or testing my patience, something like that, he was having a lot of fun with AutoDrive not behaving. And actually, I was pleasantly surprised with how well it behaved and, you know, took care of everything. So, and that's been, so I've done the next video where I do a fair bit of AutoDriveage. And actually, it all worked really well. So I don't know whether it's a version thing. I have no idea which version of AutoDrive I have installed on here in terms of whether it's the latest or not. I'm going to go that it probably isn't because I'm really bad at updating things like AutoDrive. So it's, yeah, I'm really bad at updating mods in general. In fact, this is possibly still the demo version of the map that Farms and Briscoe sent me. Pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it's a pre-release version, so you know it works perfectly well. I don't need there was nothing game-breakingly, you know, game-changing in the updates, so I haven't updated. So yeah, I think my plan is that we'll run all the contracts we can. I'm going to buy those extra 2 fields. Yes, we buy more fields, there will be less contracts on here. That's partly why I'm using the Oaks for contracting. And because it's pretty close and it's an awesome map. And we'll probably need to extend the crop rotation by at least 1 crop. So if I add 1 crop, that means that every year we'll plant every crop on the rotation. And then I think once we've got those 2, that'll give us 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that'll give us 6 arable fields. Might start looking at some grassland and getting some grass working kit so that we can work towards the cow farm. I don't know if that feels too early and maybe whether we should do another cycle of harvesting. I don't know what you guys think. My thoughts are that if we get into running a dairy, we'll, you know, there will be a big spike in income after about a year. So maybe it's time to start it soon so that when we get to the, you know, a bit later, we're in a really good position to start buying a lot more of the map. Or we keep going with arable. So it's quite nice not having animals to worry about. So maybe I'm going to do a bit longer of just doing arable farming. So I didn't have on here the Bushel Plus attached. I forgot. Yes, Mark, I can hear you typing it already. I did add it in later on when I was running contracts, so I did remember afterwards. I'm really bad for that sort of stuff. The 2 Deutz combines have it attached already. I just forgot to buy it for this one, so yeah. It would have been nice to get 10% more yield. I think it's 10%, but it's on there now and it will stay attached. The downside is we didn't necessarily need it this time, but it uses up the towing hitch, and it's really useful sometimes to have the combine able to tow the header. So I had forgotten that the trailers that I've got have a tow hitch, but it's a tow hitch that can't attach to a header trailer. So I'd forgotten that, and getting everything around that is a bit of a faff, particularly as the truck doesn't have that kind of hitch on it. So one of my thoughts, actually it'll be really useful on the Oaks, is probably to pick up a grain trailer for the truck. That might mean picking up a smaller auger wagon so that we can run an auger and then the grain truck to deliver. So maybe get an auger wagon that can hold the capacity of the hopper on here, and we could run that combo. I think that might be really good. So yeah, this was me looking and seeing that actually this field is going to sit fallow for quite a long time. I'm pondering, and I didn't actually do it in the end. I think I've done it before and it doesn't really help, of interleaving grass into some of these to see if that boosts the yield or not, or you know, the fact that we'll get a grass crop off it if we had grass working equipment. So had to briefly pause things then, and I've completely forgotten what I was talking about. So I'm going to go on to another topic that I will talk about, which, how many times can you say talk about in one sentence, is giants and events. So I assume most of you follow them on like Facebook and X, I guess it is now, and you know, you see people posting on YouTube as well. You know, they're doing events in the US and they're doing events in Germany, and I guess that kind of makes sense because they've got Kermit in the US and they've got their main presence in Germany, I think. It would be really nice if they did some in other countries. Obviously, I'm biased. It would be really nice if they did something in the UK. That'd be cool. But yeah, it'd be really. I'm guessing it's based on, you know, demographics and access and stuff, and obviously the US is a big market for them. But I think they've done about 3 shows in the US this year, something like that. And Germany is their kind of home base, so that makes sense as well. But it'd be really nice for them to do a UK event, just saying. So again, just checking the sales. I'm pretty regularly checking the sales on almost every save actually at the moment, because if I can pick up kit for cheap anywhere, it's a bonus. Obviously, you don't always get what you want. Couldn't get the combine on sale. We did get the header on sale, which is really nice. It looks like the header might need a repair actually, which is not great because that could be affecting our yield. So yeah, did not spot that. Did not actually spot that between videos either, so oh well. Bit of a noob mistake there. We will get that job done. So first time using VCA with this combine, so it was set to the default setting, so just taking it down to 1 degree so we can line up. I end up lining up on here and then changing it. This is not a good run to run GPS on. Very short. But once we've got this first headland opened up, we will sort out AutoDrive. It's quite a short cart, so we only needed the 1 tractor to support us. But yeah, I do think we need more carting capability, and I wonder, I've been using, in the future video, sorry for spoilers, been using the AgroStar on the smaller Richard Weston trailer. But I'm wondering if that would support a small auger, and if I can find one, and then we get the trailer for the truck and use that to do the kind of the road haulage bit, and that might allow things to keep moving and just give us more flexibility, because running 2 combines does mean that Karting can be a bit of an issue. AutoDrive, I have noticed, seems, we'll talk about it more in the next video, but it does seem to favour a particular combine, and it will sit with it until the trailer's full quite often, which is not so good. But yeah, we can get AutoDrive going now. Fendt did provide us with a rather nice set of overalls with our new combine. I don't think there's any Deutz branded clothing in the game, Giants. So we went with Fendt for this one. You know, came with the combine, obviously, something like that. Yeah. I think this is maybe the bigger of the two grain trailers we have. So, yeah. AutoDrive was actually set up for this field. So we're just going to send that off to the silo to tip. And get us set up. And there we go. We are good. So yeah, and even then I didn't actually look at what version of AutoDrive we have installed. So, yeah. Oh well. Something that I have ended up doing on here as well, and we've been doing it on, or I suggested doing it on Glenlarden as well for some of the contracting, is delivering to the silo. We did it before. When you've got lots of contracts open, you don't necessarily deliver grain for the field that you've combined because of the way Giants handles multiple contracts. So what I've found sometimes better is to combine all the fields and store the grain in my own silo, and then deliver the grain at the end. And that way you should minimize the amount you need to deliver, and you won't have issues with contracts completing before you've finished. You know, if you save and leave the game, that kind of thing. More so if you want to do straw off them. So if you're running one of the different mods that lets you pick up straw from contract fields, that's kind of a nice way of managing that, because you could combine them all, not complete the contracts because you don't deliver, and then you could bail them all and then deliver at the end again. So it maybe takes a little bit longer, maybe not. Depends how far the sell point is from your silo and what options you've got for doing that. You know, we could run the truck to do that delivery stage. But yeah, I think it has it's potentially the kind of the efficient way to do it, with the bug that contracts will if you have contracts complete and you save and leave the game and reload, you can lose those contracts. So definitely worth holding back some on the delivery. There was another trick someone told me that you can do by going into the missions file, but I don't remember it. So if you were the person that told me that trick, can you stick it in the comments again, because that'd be useful. Maybe a little video, who knows. So yeah, combine is running nicely. It's big bit of kit, I'm not sure this is the biggest header it can run. There's obviously a fair bit of auger room, but for what we're doing, I think it's a nice size, and I think it'll work well on the Oaks as well. You know, it's a 40-foot header. Who knows, in the future maybe we'll have two of these instead of the two Deutz. As actually, like I'm doing on Glenlarden, I'm planning to keep kit. Really bad for that kind of thing. Big kit anyway, like combines and tractors and stuff. We might swap some of the other stuff over, but things like this we're going to keep, because honestly they're always useful. You know, on Glenlarden you'll see, well, you won't see because it's stuff that DS Agri have been doing offline. Having lots of tractors really helps when you're running a lot of contracts, because you can have a tractor per job, and you don't have to keep swapping things and disconnecting things and all that kind of thing. And you know, it also means that while that's going on, I can maybe use some of the older kit, or the kit that's not being used because we've got an excess of tractors, to do work on, you know, like feeding animals and stuff. So there's definitely benefit to hoarding kit. Yeah, literally, over the weekend, if you're familiar with the Glenarthen save, and the fact when we started that on Maypole, I brought the Fiat Angry 180, and I had to break that out on Saturday or Sunday to do feed mixing for the cows because the Merlot was off doing baling work, or bale stacking work. So yeah, it is definitely something that is worthwhile doing. So, and we'll do the same on here. You know, and we've got, I can't see us retiring the 7 Series Deutz, the Agrostar, and the little D, whatever it is, maybe, or they'll just, you know, go down to being yard tractors, or I quite often use the littlest one for actually sort of shuffling stuff around the yard, and I do actually use it for carting the smaller headers around the map. Although it's quite slow, it does the job. So I'm probably at some point we will diverge away from just Deutz in terms of tractors and other kit, because it's kind of limited as to what's available. I mean, they're quite nice. You know, the bigger Deutz are quite nice for karting because they'll do 39 miles an hour, which is pretty cool. And I did look at chip tuning for getting higher horsepower. So if we go for a 9 Series and then chip tune it, I think we can chip sort of 10-15%, which is going to give us a pretty meaty tractor. So look out for that in the future. It's not something that I'm going to do all the time, and it's not something that I'm instantly. I think the chip tuning mod lets you do 100%, which I think is excessive. But I do want to use the chip tuning mod because that increases the maintenance costs, which would come with running a tractor with higher boost, or however, you know, they're getting the extra power when they chip tune these things. So yeah, rather than just going into the XML and doing a times 1.1 on the power factor or torque factor that's in the XML. Yeah, so making pretty good progress with this field, getting pretty good yield off of it. With, you know, we're basically being dictated by soil type. I've done the best I can to get the field in good shape. Something I'll probably look at picking up is a mulcher. Again, I wouldn't normally mulch, but these fields are going to be sat fallow for so long that I'm sure we will have time to mulch between planting. So we'll get it mulched. I'll look at whether it needs liming. I'll probably lime it either way, because we may as well just put the little bit on that it will need to get it to perfect lime rather than being good, and keep getting the best we can off the field. And that's also going to factor in to future environmental scores. So yeah, 1 and a bit more strips to go and we will be done. And the next time we'll get this straw baled and stacked. I'm going to store it for now because the best price comes later in the year, and just in case, you know, just in case. I'm actually pondering as we talk, there's a nice little corner of land there which is kind of grassy scrubland. We could put a sheep pen on. Could. We don't have anything to feed them at the moment, but we could. And I'm guessing that's not very expensive, and it kind of completes that corner of our farm. I'm tempted. I'm very tempted. Let me know what you think in the comments. It's just something that's just popped into my head. Yeah, I'm kind of tempted by that. We could even modify a pasture to make it fit so they can graze. Very tempted. Very tempted. And I guess there's something different to doing dairy cows all the time. And we could even do, although, yeah, we could even do, if I had an enhanced animal system, we could do goats. We could do goats. That might actually be a corner of our field already. Which would be even better because we could just fence it off. Yeah. Oh, my brain's working overtime now. Yeah, I have some ideas. Anyway, let's get this tip into the silo. And I say thanks to the patrons and the YouTube channel members. Appreciate you guys supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, click the like button. Comments, questions, or suggestions, stick them below. And we got 64,000 litres. Very nice. I will see you next time.